Let me make sure this works before. Oh, yeah, I love that. Hello, folks. Welcome to Michigan State University Extension's Lunch and Learn series. I'm Monica Smith. I'm a registered dietitian and your extension educator in Kent, Allegan, and Ottawa counties around food and nutrition. And here it is, September, again, ever so quickly. Kids back in school. How did that happen? I was just planting my garden last week, it seems like. And every year about this time, I like to do a presentation about eating well together and about the family meal. And I have some new things to add this year, and I hope that you'll find it beneficial. But before I get started, I need to let you know that this is your tax dollars at work. This program is partially funded by the United States Department of Agriculture. We work with people who are lower income in order to help them put more food on the table and feed their families better. And we do not discriminate against anyone at any time for any reason. We are an affirmative action, equal opportunity employer and only hang out with those that are the same. So you will never find us in bad company. When I was looking for this material for presentations on the internet, I came across some of these pictures. You know, tell me what you think that these kids have in common. They're all smiling. Food is in the picture, and they don't seem stressed about that, do they? Is that always the truth? Has anybody ever had the fearful eater? Yes. The not so energetic eater, the eater that took 2 hours to finish a meal. Anybody had one of those? Oh. The child that would just rather be doing anything else other than eating. It's a big world, rather be doing that. But all these kids look pretty happy and pretty content with the idea of eating. Yeah. Does this look surreal to anybody? I mean, are you saying, oh, this is something that they did? Hi there. Is this something that they did maybe 50 years ago? Nobody does this anymore. Those are stock photos, right? That would never work at my house. Look, this photo actually looks like this could be multi-generational, right? This actually looks like the grandma could be there, you know. And look, everybody's happy. There's no food flying. Look, something I noticed immediately about this picture is everybody's eating the same thing. Isn't that interesting? Do you see a box on the table anywhere? Or a can? So maybe this looks a little surreal. Maybe this looks like something that people used to do or other people do or my family could only dream of doing. But really, that's not so. This is what we know. Children do what they see, good or bad. Has anybody ever had that embarrassing moment? Every day. Every day? When your child may have seen or heard something and taken it out of context and brought it somewhere maybe it shouldn't have been. But I can assure you, the family that does this will end up with this. On some level. On some level. Maybe not perfect. Notice, we are not ranch free. So we have not created the perfect eater. We've created a child who, with compromise, will sit at the table and have a veggie, right? I must confess, I'm a grocery store voyeur. I look at what everybody buys. I have been known to hang back at the checkout and wait a minute because I saw an interesting cart approaching. I just can't stand it. I have to look at what people buy. And this looks a lot like us today, doesn't it? The way we eat. I mean, she's busy doing something else, and she's busy doing something else. They're busy doing something else. He's busy doing something else. She's busy doing something else. And we're so busy. This is one of my favorite food items. The frozen, crustless peanut butter and jelly. Okay? This has been on the market a while, it sells. There's a market for a frozen crustless PB&J. This, breakfast in a handy to go, see the little handle? I don't know how we've perfected eating cereal and walking at the same time, but evidently we must have. All right? The Lunchable. I won't say any more about that. Even this is a fairly new product. A toddler-ready meal. This is how we eat today. We're not focused on eating. We are clearly telling our food producers that we don't have time to prepare food, and that food is something that we do as an add-on to everything else that we're doing. When in fact, let's think about this. If you stop breathing, about how soon would you cease to exist? Minutes, right? I've got minutes. If I stop drinking, how soon will I cease to exist? Days, I've got days, right? If I stop sleeping, how long will it be before I cease to exist? Well, it kind of depends on if I walk out in front of a truck or I crash my car, right? Or I do something dangerous and end up being hurt or maimed. Then after those three, there's eating. In the priority of survival, eating would come forth even before procreation, right? But yet it's something that we do on the way to something else. That's something for us to understand. That's pretty powerful. And just to make a point of this, did anybody see this on Yahoo this week? I found this to be amazing. Have you seen this? This is amazing. This is a new gizmo here that was specifically designed so that you could eat your French fries in the car and dip at the same time. You can either dip through this hole right here or pull this up if you're more stable and can not spill. It holds as much as 3 traditional packets of ketchup. It took them 3 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars to develop this packet. And they're convinced that there's a big market for this because 2/3 of their revenue comes from drive-through revenues. Now, everybody that drives through doesn't eat in the car, right? I've driven through and taken it home to eat or gone to the park or somewhere. I mean, everybody's not eating and driving. But evidently, they feel that it was worth their time and money to develop this special packet. Okay? So, wow. There's a market for us to continue to eat and go, isn't there? Well, here's the scoop, though. Children do not learn well on the go. Children learn by doing and seeing. I love this quote, and I believe that this is an Ellen Satter quote. Children learn about healthy eating bite by bite, food by food, and meal by meal. Does that sound like a quick process to anybody? It really doesn't, does it? But yet, that's what Ellen Satter says it takes for a child to develop into a healthy eater. What, you say? Children are not born to be healthy eaters? Most children are born with the ability to suck, swallow, and breathe. And after that, it's all learned. And for some children, they even have to learn to suck, swallow, breathe. They don't even come into the world with that ability to eat. Everything is learned for them. So if everything is learned, the flip side of that coin is everything is taught. That's kind of scary, isn't it? The power behind that. Over and over, over and over. What we have found in every study that we ever do is that children get most of their eating habits when they interact with their peers, with their parents, at school. They get their information on what they eat, when they eat, and where they eat from us. So, if I'm pushing the cart down the aisle at the grocery store, at the same time I am drinking a liquid meal product, at the same time I am talking on the phone, at the same time I'm grocery shopping, my child very clearly gets what message? Yeah, meals are something that I have to do. I eat when I move. I'm a busy person, and even shopping for food is, I'm not only eating and moving, I'm shopping for food and eating. It's a harried activity. Does anybody feel like the grocery store is overwhelming? The more sensory input you put into a situation when a child is learning to eat, the more it's got to filter through. So the less there is around that child, surrounding that child in the eating experience, the better likelihood the child will have of absorbing the part of the eating experience you want them to have.
Say that again.
Anytime a child is learning, especially young children, they are filtering all the input that's coming at them. So the calmer the environment, the more focused the environment. For example, if I'm sitting at the table and all we're doing is eating and talking, how was your day? My day was great. That child is really taking in the art of conversation and the art of eating. If we are sitting at that same table and somebody's talking on their cell phone, the television is going, the radio is on, people are coming in the house, somebody gets up and takes their plate in front of the TV because they want to watch the game, that child cannot possibly filter, a small child cannot possibly filter and process all of that. And that really makes it hard for a child to decide what is it I'm supposed to be doing and how am I supposed to do it, and what is this thing about food? I don't know. I mean, I loved this. This is a stock photo, and this stock photo was supposed to be showing a great American meal. And I looked at it, and I immediately noticed that this wasn't quite right. Now, in the eyes of these children, this is mom and dad. That's as good as it gets, right? We all know, I have research to share with you about children see their parents as role models. They really do elevate them to a place of esteem higher than what we ever imagine that our children think of us. But yet, when I look at these plates, these two children have milk, but what's happening here? Looks like pop, doesn't it? Now this one right here, you can't really see this very good. This little guy, he's got grapes and carrots. Does mom have any carrots? No, they're on the table, that's nice, but she hasn't taken any. So believe it or not, it's not a far stretch for this child to think, as soon as I get big enough, I'm drinking pop, because that's the good stuff. It's not a far stretch for this child that's got the carrots to also say, I probably don't have to eat my carrots because mom's not eating carrots. Now it looks like dad over here has got some of everything. But she's looking at dad like, what's going on with mom? What's with the carrots and the pop? And so the mixed message is sent here. It's very subtle, but it's a very real message that children pick up on. If you can't do it, I can't do it. If you aren't doing it, I shouldn't have to do it. Did anybody ever love to be told, do as I say, not as I do? Nobody liked that. Nobody liked it. And so, why am I making a big deal out of this? Why am I making such a big deal out of this? It's just dinner, you know. I've got a child, my child is healthy, my child doesn't have any weight problems, my child is, you know, active and healthy. What's the big deal? Food is okay in our household. Look at this. Look at this. According to Harvard, language acquisition, achievement scores for tests, fewer behavioral problems. This has been documented multiple times. The ratio or the relationship between family meals and behavioral problems. Now, when I talk to you about your children performing better in school, does that sort of strike a chord for anybody? I mean, don't most of us want our children to do They don't have to be perfect, but we want them to do as well as they can do, right? Does anybody cherish the idea of their child being in trouble? Who wants this call right here? Nobody wants that call. And so, something I learned yesterday in a training on campus at MSU yesterday, which I thought was fascinating. This training was not led by nutrition people. This training was led by behavioral psychologists. And according to these behavioral psychologists, who evidently are leaders in their field of motivational interviewing and behavior change, unfortunately these people did come from U of M, but we will still give them some cred, okay? But you know, what can I say? What they tell us is from their philosophy, nobody changes behavior because of education. Nobody changes behavior because of information. It's dismal, the rate of behavior change based on the fact that I tell you this is the thing to do, it's the right thing to do, it's the best thing to do. Very few people, it's dismal. Did anybody in here smoke when they knew they shouldn't smoke? Yeah. Does anybody in here, play a video game when they know it would probably be better to take a walk? Yeah, sure you do. How people make behavior change is through motivation. Motivating people to seek their own change based on their own goals is what gets people to change. And if I have a goal that my child will finish high school with never having an encounter with law enforcement personnel, I might then be more motivated to have a family meal because that would be a value to me. So when you're looking at talking about family meals or trying to maybe even encourage your own family to sit down together because everybody's busy doing things, you really have to look at what is motivating to the individual in the family, what is motivating to the family as a whole. I thought that was fascinating, and it made a great deal of sense to me. This thing with kids being in trouble and substance abuse, this has been researched on multiple levels, and I pulled this one out especially because this is the National Center on Addiction and Substance Abuse at Columbia University. Most of us would hold Columbia University in fairly high esteem. This is not Joe Schmo's School of Behavior. This is Columbia University. And what they have found is this one habit, they're going as far as to say prevents this. Do you think that's pretty strong language for a university to put that? It prevents it. Do you say may? Do you see the word may in there, or might, or coulda, shoulda, woulda? It says one habit that prevents another. I thought that was very powerful. And then I went on, and these are some slides taken directly from Columbia's substance abuse, their program, some research they did. And what they found was if you have teens eating at home 5 to 7 days a week, they are half as likely to be engaged in substance abuse. Or I could say that another way. Teens that only have dinners at home 0 to 2 times a week are twice as likely to be engaged in substance abusing behaviors. Now, is that a motivator to some people for their children to not be substance abusing? Do you think that's more of a motivator than carrots are good for you? You should eat them at the table together? I think so. Here's another one. Does anybody think that their teen is busy and happy and doing everything that they want to do, and that you're just old and worthless and they don't really want to hang with you anymore? This is done by the Teenage Research Institute in 2004, but this has been replicated more than once. What they find is that teens value eating dinner at home as much as they value going on vacation with their family. They like to go out more but they really like to eat at home. Look, holidays hit the top of the chart. Going out for fast food, nowhere near as important. Isn't that interesting? So somewhere eating dinners at home hits a value center. Teens are motivated to do it should the opportunity exist. So it's not just like you're going to have to, oh, I don't want my kid, to use drugs, so I'm going to try to do this family meal thing, and they're going to be fighting me all the way, and it's going to be mean and hateful. It might actually be fun. They might like it. Now, this probably makes sense to a lot of you. Over 50% of teens have meals almost every night of the week or every night of the week at age 12. But look what happens by age 17, less than 30%. Would anyone like to venture a guess at what age teens start veering off the path that we would like them to be on to be healthy and successful? As early as 13, but 15 seems to be the magic number. 15 seems to be the magic number. And you can see a pretty good decline here. So is it worth eating with your kids? Is it worth the hassle of having family meals? Because some people see it as a hassle. Does anybody enjoy family meals? I love them. I love to cook. I love to bring people to the table. But then again, I don't have 3 or 4 children on different schedules, a spouse on a different schedule. And so for me, it's natural. It's something I've always done. But if this was new to me, I could see how it would be hard. But when you're looking at a motivator, most families want to talk. They want to talk better. They want to talk more clearly. They want to have strong. Who doesn't want to be in this family right here? Don't you want to go hang out with them? They're having big fun. They're under the water. They're laughing. They're bubbling. Look at these people. Don't you want to hang out with them? Even the dad here who looks kind of serious, he's still tolerating it pretty good, isn't he? He's in the picture. Who doesn't want this? And my question is, I'm wondering if families like this have meals together. I think they might. No, I'm a nutritionist. I'm a registered dietitian. I'm not going to let you off without talking about some nutrition, right? So, better nutrition? Yeah, we need better nutrition in this country. We know that families that eat together, more fruits and vegetables, more grains, more calcium, more protein, more iron, more fiber. But this is the thing right here that motivates me, less soft drinks and less treat foods. A lot of parents are really at a loss at how to get their children weaned off of sugar because it's become such a big part of their life. And it seems to be that children who have meals together don't do this as much. I found this little logo here, and it talks about the healthy weight of a child. This is a program that's being offered in another state. And this is their formula for having a child with a healthy weight. Offer healthy meals and snacks, focus on family meals, be active early, start early, keep it up, and limit screen time. Seems pretty simple when you read it like that. But this one right here, this offering healthy meals and snacks, shopping can be a real barrier, right? But today, I want to just focus on the family meal. In other words, if your dinner tonight is going to be a homemade peanut butter and jelly, because you do have the option of buying one frozen now. If your dinner tonight is going to be a homemade peanut butter and jelly and an apple and a glass of milk, is that table worthy? It truly is table worthy. You don't need to put a big holiday meal on the table in order to get people around the table. Just get them to the table with whatever you would have been eating anyway is a first step. So we're not talking about even offering super healthy food right now. We're just talking about if you can get them to the table and you can turn the television off while you do it, you're making strides. Anybody ever been on a diet? Anybody ever been on more than one? Anybody ever been on more than 10? They don't work so well. That's pretty evident, as we've seen by the ever-growing diet industry, multi-billion-dollar industry. And now someone actually has proposed these questions. Is a family meal actually better than a diet? Because what we know is when people sit down together, they eat a better quality of food. When there are consistent meal times, people feel more food secure, which means they know when the next meal is coming, they can count on it, so they don't eat randomly out of anxiety. Many people, children and adults, have anxiety with food. Is there going to be enough? Will there be enough for me? When are we going to eat? Better eat now because I don't know when dinner is. I don't know where I'm eating dinner. And so when there's less anxiety around food because you know when it's coming, you haven't overeaten only to find out, oh yeah, it's dinner time, so I'm going to eat that too. Promotes a sense of belonging and prevents disengaged eating. Has anybody ever done that? I'll tell you a story. A few years ago, I was sitting on the sofa. I'd had a bad day, and I was feeling kind of stressed out, and I was sitting on the sofa, and I was watching a ball game, and I had a 6-pack of Oreo cookies beside me on the sofa, and I had my dog, Max, my big boy, beside me in the living room. And so I'm watching the game, eating the cookies, and I look down, and they're gone. 6 cookies gone, vanished. And of course, my first response was looking at Max. However, there was no crumbs on his face. There were no crumbs on the floor. There was no dog slobber on the plate. Therefore, it must have been me. I did not even taste those cookies. That was 6 cookies gone. That is your classic disengaged eating. When I sit at the table and I eat, I know I have eaten, I feel full, I feel satisfied, and I'm not blaming the poor dog. And when we reduce disengaged eating, we tend to stop sooner and enjoy it more. Maybe family meals are better than a diet. Maybe we need a research study to see about that. We don't have a research study to find out, I couldn't find one that shows focused eating in relationship to body weight, but I did find one that showed family meals and disordered eating behavior in girls. And what we saw is that those young girls, Project Eat, those young girls who ate family meals 5 or more times a day, 5 or more times a week, were much less likely to chronic diet, to binge eat, or to engage in less extreme unhealthy weight behaviors. Those that eat them never, look up here, 50% of the young girls targeted in this study were using extreme unhealthy weight control. 10% were binge eating, around 20% for extreme weight control, chronic dieting. What did we say early in the presentation? Children learn how to be healthy eaters bite by bite, meal by meal, food by food. My guess is if you asked one of these young women up here what a healthy meal looked like, she may not know. The American Dietetics Association did a really huge family nutrition and physical activity survey, and it talks about they wanted to find out knowledge of children's attitudes and behavior around weight loss food, selection of food. The parents' awareness the parents' awareness of their children's behaviors that influence their weight, and to understand how children and parents relate on the topic of weight. This was really interesting. What they found is this is what's happening with kids. Parents aren't always aware of when their kids eat. Kids are eating, this is what this shows, after school, after dinner, this, while doing homework, that's kind of disengaged eating, while watching television, disengaged eating, while on the phone, disengaged eating. This is most or all of the time. Some of the time, here this is. Let me look over here now. Let's see what parents are thinking that their children are doing. Parents are thinking that their children are eating school most of the time, when in fact they're not. Parents think that they're not eating nearly as much vending food as they are. Parents are very unaware of how much convenience store and vending. Parents don't think that their kids go into grocery stores, that they're doing this much fast food or food court stuff. And look, parents don't understand how much disposable income children have to get delivered pizza. But as we can see, parents aren't always aware of where their kids are getting food. See, only 56% of children report eating lunch at school daily. And a lot of parents use that as a fallback. I know I don't have to worry too much about dinner because I know she ate at school. Well, maybe not. These two young women are, but tomorrow maybe not. 21% take a lunch from school, take a lunch to school, and sometimes eat at school. But only 36% purchase from the lunch line most days. But yet 49% of parents think that that's what their kids are doing. So knowing that school lunch might not be a fail-safe for your children to learn about healthy eating, to sit, to talk, and eat at the table, that might be a motivator for some people to want to sit down and actually eat with their children. This is a study, part of the ADA study, where they just asked, this is just self-reported nutrition behaviors. And what they found when they reported positive nutrition, meaning I eat daily, I eat fruits and vegetables, when they asked these questions, girls almost always report lower nutrition and lower consumption, regardless of body shape. The age of the child, the older the child gets, the less well the child is eating. Is that making sense to people? As regular meal times decrease, the child reports having fewer positive nutrition experiences. To a lesser extent, as regular bedtime decreases, children report less positive. Children love habit, they love routine. So when you take out part of the routine, it throws the whole system off. As eating meals with parents decrease, they report fewer positive eating experiences. And the number of hours the primary shopper works outside the home is correlated with less positive self-report by these teenagers. If I work 60 hours a week, how much time do I have to devote to meal planning, to preparing meals, to shopping for meals? That sort of sounds like it needs to be a joint effort, doesn't it? When the primary shopper, maybe there needs to be more than one primary shopper in a home if at all possible. And you know, even though we don't necessarily think this, kids keep reporting, regardless of age, that the parent is the person they most want to be like. Mother is still top choice, and boys are more likely to select their father as the role model, while their girls are more often to select the mother. So, can we make time to eat with our kids? Look at this. Does this look familiar to anybody? Look at this guy. Whew, who wants to make supper after that? You're worn out, right? Does this look familiar to anybody? Yeah, that's waiting on you, isn't it? Strategies for family meals: make it a priority and make it fun. Don't make a big deal out of it. Again, the homemade peanut butter and jelly, a glass of milk, an apple, or some carrots. That's a place to start, right? That meal would take approximately how many minutes to get on the table? 3 to 5? Right? Make it fun. Let this guy make his own PB&J. Planning ahead works. It works great, and it doesn't have to be complicated. If you understand this MyPlate logo, you can plan whole meals in your head with no list and no hassle. This translates to this: a home-cooked burger on a whole grain roll, celery sticks, apple, milk. How long did it take to put that meal on the table? 15 minutes, because you got to cook the burger maybe? Healthy, quick, kid-friendly, if you have the food in the house. Okay, let's say you went through the drive-thru. Let's make this a realistic. Let's say you don't want to make the burgers. You go through the drive-thru, you get the burgers, right? You come home, and you throw an apple, a carrot, and a glass of milk on a plate with your drive-thru burger. That's a how many minute meal? 2-minute meal, right? And we're at the table. That's all it takes. That's a great place to start. Turn off the television. Children cannot process multiple inputs. Keep music low. One of the rules of my family that I really appreciate that my mother did, my mother wasn't perfect. She did a lot of things that would not be okay in this day and age. But one thing that she did was our table, our kitchen table where we ate, was a safe zone. There was no fighting, no arguing, no fussing. You were never held accountable for anything at the table. You just came to the table and you ate and you talked. Of course, that was also the place where you could whip stuff on your mom and know you were going to get yelled at about it, and then she'd have to cool off a few minutes. So after dinner could be tense sometimes. But the table was a safe place. I never, ever dreaded going to eat. Ever. So that's where conversations happen, where there are no discipline problems, no power struggles over food. And we never had more than one meal at the table. I had a very clear idea about what it was I was supposed to eat. My food looked just like my mom's food, and when that happens consistently, kids are learning that bite by bite, meal by meal. When kids are younger, you're going to have more influence over what they eat. But when kids are older, they can help you more. They can take some of the burden. So you say, what do you want to eat? Well, let's have tacos. Great. Tacos and what? Watermelon. Okay, that sounds good. I need you to go to the store and grab a gallon of milk because we're out. So there's the trade-off with older kids. They can help, and the time you spend here might make the time here a little bit easier. How much food? Sometimes this is a problem, isn't it? How much food? Does anybody get really mad when they buy too much and it goes bad? Has anybody ever been in that terrible situation? The worst positive situation if you're from the South, where you haven't bought enough food. The worst possible situation. Family meal, Sunday meal, friends over, oh my gosh, you're short. Really hard to regroup from. If you understand that children simply need to eat off of a smaller plate than the adult, that will give you a place to start so that food doesn't end up on a child's plate and in the trash instead of in somebody else's belly. Also keep in mind that older children and teens might eat the same amount as an adult. A 16-year-old needs a lot more food than I need. So their plate's going to look different than mine, in that they might start with the same plate, but they're probably going to go back. I'm not. And fruits, vegetables, whole grains should always be available if they're asked for, but it's always best to start small and go back. When you're talking about how much food, start with the basics. Providing choices. Does anybody get caught in this trap? What do you want? I want pizza. Well, tonight we're not having pizza, so what do you want? I want pizza. And then it becomes a temper tantrum because it's not going to be pizza, right? The key to offering choices is between 2 for small children or up to 3 choices for an older child of things where there are no bad choices. Regular yogurt, frozen yogurt, broccoli or carrots or green beans, apples, oranges, or bananas. Your choice. It's going to be one of those 3. You've not left them out to take responsibility for the full meal. You could pick the vegetable. We've got these 3. Which would you like? That's not the same as being a short order cook because what they choose everybody gets, right? If your son chooses bananas tonight, it's bananas for all. You know, you don't want to be too restrictive with kids when they eat. All food's fit. Food is good. It's okay to eat foods for pleasure and for fun because it's what you eat on a regular basis that affects your health. Has anybody ever seen those fancy cookies at the store? I saw these yesterday on campus. They're like these fancy super nutrition cookies. They cost like $4 a piece and they guarantee to help you live forever. You seen those? I have no expectation that a cookie will help me live forever. It's a treat food. I like it, I want it, I eat it. It's something I eat on occasion. The things I do have expectation for are the things I eat every day. I eat bread every day. I drink milk every day. I'm some form. Those are the things I need to focus on. And then I'm very careful to use the words appropriately. A snack is something I need every day, right? I'll have at least 2 of them today. Do I need a treat every day? Do I need a treat every week? No. A treat is something that you have occasionally. So avoid using the word snack and treat interchangeably. If it's a snack, I get it. I don't have to deserve it. It's not a special occasion. It happens today and it's going to be a good food for me. If it's a treat, it's associated maybe with a pleasurable time, like most people would have birthday cake on their birthday. That's a treat. But even treats are not bad foods. Treats are foods that we eat once in a while, whereas other foods like, you know, a bowl of cereal or some whole grain toast is something we eat every day. See, that's a snack, half of a sandwich. That's a treat. Has anybody ever seen this, the adult food and the child food syndrome? I get this and you get that. When you're working with your child to develop him or her into a healthy eater, that's not a very good idea. Allow everybody to have treats. It's not, I'm good so I get the treat, or as soon as the kids go to bed, we whip out the cheesecake. You know, my mom used to hide those little tiny miniature candy bars in the cabinet like she really thought we didn't know that they were there. Okay? You know, it happened. You know, you don't have adult food and kid food. Let everybody have treats because even treats don't need to be earned. You know, you don't reward or punish with food. If the treats are up, if this is ice cream day, it's ice cream day for everybody. Even if Joey got a little lippy in school today, he gets the ice cream, right? All foods can fit because what you don't want to do is this. You don't want to create this child or this teen that secret eats, that feels shame around food, that binges when he or she gets the chance because she can't have it when she wants it or when everybody else gets it. Keep those healthy foods at home for teens. Plan and expect to have a family meal a few times a week. If you're having none, 1 day a week would be great. If you're having one, try 2 days a week. And ask teens for their input and preparation. Get them to help. But most importantly, when you're talking about family meals and good nutrition with your teens, talk about it as it relates to their values, their motivation. I want you to have the energy that you need to have tomorrow on that test. I miss you. It's important for me to know what's going on in your life. I want you to come to the table. You know, you're a role model for your younger brother. He needs to see you eat.
I'm just wondering, if you have a smaller apartment or a place where a table really isn't space-wise, do they have, or have you heard of anything as far as like a blanket on the floor, anything for smaller people with smaller spaces?
When you have that really tiny space and you cannot afford to give up for a table, anything will do if you are eating together in a comfortable environment, whether it's like you said, a blanket on the floor so it's picnic time, whether everybody gets their own television tray that they're sitting on the sofa but the television is off, but everybody is eating together and there's a set time for that meal. Do you have to have the proverbial table? No. Can you go outside and sit at a picnic table if you have one, or your apartment complex has one? Sure, absolutely. But remember, when you're motivating a teen to change, or you're even motivating a young child to change, you're looking about it from their perspective. What's important to them? So when you're bringing all this together, keep in mind that if we don't raise our children to eat healthfully, they might not, because that message that we get that's going on in our world today, that eating is something that you do on the way to something else, that's everywhere, right? I mean, look at all the money Heinz spent developing that packet of ketchup. Start early and be consistent. Eating guidelines. Eating guidelines. That means that we all eat the same food, or the same food is placed on the table. The child can decide whether to eat it or not, but you're not being a short order cook. And that you're not too restrictive or too easy with your child. You're just consistent with realistic expectations. And you can talk about healthy eating all you like. You could talk about eating at the table all you like. But if you can't do it, they won't see the value in it. So the big picture is, if you sit at the table, even if you sit at the table by yourself tonight with a ham and cheese sandwich and a glass of milk and an apple, and your children are off doing something somewhere else, I wonder if they will approach you just to see what this strange behavior that you are doing is. So you've got to get there from here, but there's really powerful, powerful information out there that tells us that family meals are important on a lot of different levels, and that it's really worth our time to motivate ourselves and our children based on our own value system. Can I answer questions for anyone? Thank you so much for coming. Oh, yes?
Okay, can you just, for working with families, an idea for age-wise, how long they should be at the table?
That's a good point. Age-wise, how long should you expect a child to be at the table? Okay, that's wildly different from age to age. A toddler, 5 to 10 minutes. A 7-year-old, 15 to 20 minutes. A 12-year-old, 20 to 30 minutes. But a toddler, 5 to 10 minutes, you're doing very well if you can keep them engaged that long. So with the toddler, it's important, do not put them in that high chair or in that seat until the food is on the table. Because if it's not ready to go, by the time you get it on the table, they're done. They've lost all interest. Likewise, if you keep that 7-year-old at the table for 30 minutes, that's an eon for that child. But again, it's okay to let the child know, you're sitting with us for this amount of time. When the clock says this, or I'll let you know when it's time for you to go. Let's be sure we have our dinner. Does that make sense? Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I get a question often from families that have maybe an older child and then some younger children, and the older one might be in high school, busier schedule, they have sports practices and all that, so they miss that time. Would you recommend that, obviously they sit, at the table, but they're missing that family time? I guess I have my suggestions, but I want to hear what your suggestions are to still get that child, even though they're a little bit older, they're coming home maybe at 7:30 or 8, how will they receive those same benefits even though the younger kids have already eaten?
I think that there needs to be, her question is, older children who have these prescribed schedules that maybe don't come home till 7:30 or so, the family's already eaten, how does this child recoup the benefit of the family meal? I think the one thing that you can do is that you can have an expectation of X number of days a week that child will be present to win. Whether it's 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, so that the child simply is not allowed to be out every single night of the week at dinner time. So I think setting the expectation, whatever that is, and then if the child, on the days that the child is not at the table, to have catch-up time, where you sit at the table and just talk. How did your day go? What did you have to eat? What happened at school today? Or even when they come in late, they've got that 15 minutes of sit-down time. Likewise, there may be a plate in the refrigerator for that child. This is what we had, here it is. Warm it up and sit down with your child. Not that you're cooking a separate meal, but that meal is on hold for that child. But I think having the expectation that your children will be home X number of days a week at mealtime is not unreasonable, given what we know about substance abuse and encounters with law enforcement. Yes, ma'am.
I have a son that's a very, very painfully slow eater. So I do think it's hard to ask everybody else to stay, and how would you handle that?
That's a good question. She has a very, very slow eater, and she doesn't want to keep everybody held hostage at the table so this little guy can have his dinner. So I would just let him engage in the dinner with everybody else. Just let him talk and eat, and he's slow. And then after an appropriate amount of time, when the rest of the family leaves the table, 30 minutes or whatever your family's rule is going to be, if somebody could take turns sitting with him so that he's not left alone, it could be you, a sibling, it could be the father, whoever is available, or you could continue to talk to him while you're cleaning up the kitchen, have him faced towards you where you're talking and cleaning, and just let him take his time and stay engaged with him on some level. But I would resist the urge to put a television or a screen in front of him to entertain him while he eats, you know. But yes, you can't expect everybody to stay there for an hour and a half with the little guy. You're welcome. Does anybody else have any questions? Does anybody have a super fast eater? Yeah. What do you do with that super fast eater that's done in 3 minutes and wants to go?
I let him talk. I stop him. I'm just like, so, how was this? How was this? How was that?
So you try to slow his eating down by talking to him?
Yeah,
That's one thing.
answer me.
And then how old is he?
He just turned 11. He's been doing it for a couple of years.
So he's 11. So it would be reasonable to expect him to stay at the table for 15 minutes or so.
That's about it.
He knows his obligation to the family at the mealtime. If he eats all of his dinner in 5 minutes, he's not off the hook. It's not eat and go. So he eats, his is gone. You just keep talking to him and let him go on about his normal eating behavior, and then release him from the table when his time is up. Because a lot of kids, if they eat quick, they can go do something else. They learn that in school, don't they? If you eat your lunch in 5 minutes and you get more recess time. So you have to sort of undo that maybe by setting an expectation that dinner time, whether you're still eating or not, is 15 minutes, or dinner time, even if you're still eating, for the rest of the family is 15 minutes, but I'll hang with you. Somebody will be here with you and we'll let you take your time with your meal. Any more? Good luck. I challenge you to have your peanut butter and jelly at the table tonight.